Welcome to the Keelhauled podcast. I'm your host, Captain Logan, and we've got a lot of Sea of Thieves news to cover today, so tie yourselves to the mast and hold fast. Ahoy there, pirates. I hope you had yourselves a good week and a good weekend. I know I did. This week, I have none other than Super Pack CJ Johnston from the Player One podcast joining me today to cover the news, some of the speculation that we have, some Sea of Thieves seasons that we're going to be talking about. But the big thing is we're going to be talking about different modes we want to see come to the seas. All that more in this week's episode of Keelhauled Podcast. But first, let's thank the patrons who are supporting me through patreon.com/Keelhauled podcast. They are the ones getting the ad-free show. They are the ones getting the call-outs on the show. They are the ones getting access to the special Discord channel. If you want to chat with me at any time, you can always do so. But they are thanking me with their support, and I am continuing to make content for you and for them. So thank you to Chateau Neuf, Cosmic Johnson, El Jefe Esteban, Gingerbeard, Trickster, Baro 5, Kazia the Rogue, Lumpy SRQ, Dub Goose, Evil Morpheus, Xbox Mike 29, Munchie, Regis Stella, Rust Bell Kid, TN Professor, Vibralux, Big Bad Pad, Mina Fairy, Super Pack, Davram TV, Fergatron, Skinny Matt, Straw Hat Connor, Windsor Chris, and Zam. Wow. Thank you all so much for your support. It means the world to me, and it doesn't take much, but it really does help out the podcast. So thank you so much. I love you, and let's get into the interview. Super Pack CJ, one of the patrons, a good friend, and the host and owner of not only Player One podcast, but also secondplayer.net, who is currently on hiatus, I think, for the moment, because you've been busy making games better for people in general. And I think we're going to be diving a little bit into how you want to make games for Sea of Thieves. But starting off, CJ, how you doing, man? How's your Golden Glory weekend been?
I am doing great, Logan. Thank you again for having me on. Golden Glory weekend is going very, very well. I think I racked up like 1.5 million so far.
so juicy.
That's real good.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I haven't been we were talking a little before I started recording, but so my weekend has been just chirping pirates through a pirate's life. I've had a friend of mine who hasn't been doing the pirate's life tall tales, and it was Golden Glory. It was nice that it was Golden Glory, because when you finish a tall tale, you get that $8,000. But with Golden Glory, obviously, it's up to 16. But I got to take a friend through a few of the Pirate's Life tall tales, and man, I tell you what, that stuff still holds up so well. I still have so much fun watching people kind of work their way through the puzzles and experience it, especially if they're like Disney fans and they're fans of like the ride and Jack Sparrow and stuff. Like, God, Rare really killed it with those first couple tall tales.
Yeah,
but
I haven't finished a Pirate's Life.
What?
I've got 4 and 5 still left to do.
How? Yeah. Oh my God. CJ,
I'm savoring
4 is amazing. 4 is like one of the best tall tales they've ever made. How have you not done 4?
I know I should go back and do that.
Oh,
too busy raking in gold.
I know you're not a lore guy. I know you love just sailing for the sake of sailing, but dude, the experience of 4 is like on par with Tribute Peak for me, man. It is
really okay.
Like the fun that you have with the discovery and working out the puzzles of Tall Tales 4 for a Pirate's Life and going to Tribute Peak. It's like it's like they took the best parts of Tribute Peak and they condensed it into a nice little small area. So it feels large and it feels new, but the learned experience that you get from doing Tall Tales Pirates or a Pirate's Life Tall Tale 4 is like right there, man. And it's such a good one, man. You'd have so much fun with that one.
Nice.
You were talking about something in Discord. Did you want to jump into your feelings about the mermaid statue puzzles at all?
Oh, I hate them. Just in general. Yeah. It feels like I'm trying to solve a CAPTCHA problem, right? Like which position is the mermaid statue holding the trident in?
Yeah.
And it's like I can never figure it out. Like I sit there literally for like 40 minutes trying to do. Okay, now which one is this? This one's the one that has the chains. Okay, this one's the one that has the jewel. It should be. It's holding it in the middle. That's right, and it never is.
Yeah,
it's never right. So I spend 40 minutes doing those, and I don't like them. They feel like a CAPTCHA puzzle.
That's so funny. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Do you okay? So if they would it help if they changed? I don't know if they'd actually do this, but would it help if they changed the color of the trident, or maybe if it had like a different indicator to kind of like give you an idea of like it's in, top is the red position, middle is the yellow position, green is the bottom position, and then you kind of like give you a color kind of thing.
That would be much better. Or if I could turn accessibility on, and this may already be in there, and it tells you which way it's pointing on the little key.
Yeah,
I would do that. But yeah,
that's a really good. I'm not going to lie. An accessibility option that had a verbal and what's it called? Closed captioning to let you know like it's in up position, middle position, bottom position. That actually is a pretty good idea and would probably help a lot of people that either can't see it or aren't clear about what it is for whatever reason. I like that idea. That's a really brilliant idea. I've got 2 things to report today to Sea of Thieves on their support page. I think I'm going to drop into the forums and see if I can build up a forum post about that, because that's a really smart idea.
I will support you on that if you post it.
Okay, I will do that. We are currently recording on September 19th. As any of us who've been listening to the show should know, September 19th is International Talk Like a Pirate Day. And yar, we were thinking about maybe doing this, but then I thought no, and then I didn't tell CJ about it at all. So here we are.
And you don't want to hear me talk in a voice for an hour. No, just be bad podcasting. So
we're here to give information and share some stories, not necessarily put on a huge play. We're not Critical Role. I don't pretend to be. I think they're great, and they're probably going to have fun if they ever decide to jump into a piratey D&D game, which I don't even. We have Sea of Thieves. I would love to see more people do the Sea of Thieves role playing game. Freddie Prinze has been slacking, but I also blame Coconut Fever for that too. Not to call him out on purpose, but we did get some news. We've been having fun with Talk Like a Pirate Day. If hopefully you managed to log in this weekend, because beginning this weekend, not only has Steam client been on sale for 40% off. That's been on sale for the last 4 days. Ends on the 20th, unfortunately. So hopefully by the time you've listened to this, you've been ahead of the game and been able to get the sale if you want to have the Steam client version on hand if you need it for whatever reason. Also, if you log into the game during this weekend, there was a free emote during the Golden Glory weekend that it would be the accepting awards emote, which is just kind of you holding a small little plaque that is, or not a plaque, but kind of a little stand, and it has one of the masks from the Reaper's hideout. That is those ones that are on the wall, and you just kind of hold it out like a little Oscar award, and it's cute. I'm not sure. It's kind of weird.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it looks great. It's adorable. I don't know why they decided to do the award acceptance emote on Talk Like a Pirate Day. It seems like this would be a great thing for like a Jeff Keighley Game Awards event where they showcase like a new thing, and that anyone watching the Game Awards or like the Dice Awards would get access to this emote. Like, is it crazy that it's like today and not like on a day where we actually have like Game Awards or anything? Yeah,
it is a little strange. Yeah, they should have timed that better. Maybe they're just prepping for when they win Best Ongoing Game.
There you go.
Which should be soon here, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's the end of the year. November is usually when Jeff Keighley does his awards and stuff. I'm sure it's going to be a really interesting Game Awards this year, because we've had such a weird grouping of games. I don't even know at this point what I would consider Game of the Year, but
yeah,
Best Ongoing, it's going to be tough because No Man's Sky decided to drop this huge settlement update. And I keep looking at them and I'm like, man, what the heck? But we had a Pirate's Life too. We had Jack Sparrow with Pirates of the Caribbean. Like, if we don't win with having a huge Disney IP added to the game and a huge content update, I don't know what we have to do at this point, because this has been the biggest update that Sea of Thieves has had ever.
Right.
So we had the emote. Hopefully folks got it. You've been playing this weekend for Golden Glory, but that's not everything that we got. We also got the Comixology update, where we had a brand new Sea of Thieves #3 Origins for the Champion of Souls. I know you're not huge into the lore, but have you dipped into any of those comics, or do they have any interest for you?
Not at all, Logan.
It's so surprising. So surprising to me. So for fans, if you want, I'll let you know. Head over to Comixology.com, search Sea of Thieves or Champion of Souls. You'll see it. It's for free. You can add it to your account. You can read through it. I'll probably be diving more into that in another episode, because I've got some friends coming on, I think in October. We're going to get together and talk about some of the lore and some other things. But we also got some news that season 4 for Sea of Thieves is not here. If you're wondering, it's coming September 23rd. So CJ, this is a little weird, because it feels like we had a steady cadence. We knew when each of the seasons was going to end. We knew when each of the seasons was going to begin. And then Pirate's Life came out, and it felt like we were getting a shorter season 2. Am I crazy on that? Do you remember if we got the full season 2? Because I feel like we had 2 weeks earlier than it should have been.
I'm having trouble remembering.
Because I remember Pirate's Life came out, I think it was on the 19th of June that it came out. And now we're getting right. So in season 4 is coming out on the 23rd. So it feels like it's a little bit longer.
Pirate's Life was June 20 something. Wasn't it? I don't know.
I'm going to look it up now, because that's what good podcasters do. We waste time on the podcast vamping so that we can Google this stuff and find out exactly when it's coming out. Let's see. Announcement trailer, 3 months. Thanks, YouTube. That's exactly what June 22nd.
June 22nd. Yeah. I knew it started with a 2.
Wow. So we actually pretty much are on the precipice of the full season. I guess I should have figured that out sooner. Okay.
I am surprised that we're getting it on a Thursday instead of a Wednesday.
Really?
Doesn't it normally start on a Wednesday?
Yeah, it does technically, because they usually do maintenance on Wednesdays, and then it's usually available. So that's interesting. Are you looking forward to the teases that they've put out? We've been seeing a lot of stuff about the ocean and some songs. It feels like we're getting back into Sirens. And then we got a trailer on the 16th that is essentially them kind of showing like underwater structures. So
yeah,
we got a new trailer. How are you feeling about the season 4 teaser?
I think it sounds amazing. All that it looked like new loot types there. So that was interesting. And, going under the sea is going to be great. Please, no more mermaid statues that I have to figure out.
Just make someone else do it. Make someone else.
Maybe I'll have to do that. Yeah.
So like, all right, you guys
Logan
do this.
will play and you'll do that. You'll do that part.
That works for me. I will be happy to take care of the mermaid statues. You just have to fend off all the other things that are killing us.
I'm down with that. But it looks like new loot types and new cosmetic stuff. Like I'm all down for that. I'm ready to do another 100 levels of renown, because like most hardcore players of this game, you probably did that a long time ago.
Yeah.
For season 3. So ready to start leveling up again.
How do you feel about the seasons?
I like the seasons a lot. I think renown gain is a little too quick.
Okay.
Because I feel like they did this Golden Glory as a sort of, hey, if you haven't gotten to renown 100, you can, start that now or do that now. But I got that within like 2 weeks, the first 2 weeks of the season. So
Yeah.
it was a long sort of slog through the rest of the season and those events that didn't feel as special, perhaps. So yeah, I like the seasons overall. I really liked season 2. I thought that was well balanced and well paced. Season 3, I think it was front loaded with a Pirate's Life stuff, and then the back end has kind of been a little too quiet.
Yeah,
especially with cosmetic stuff. So
it's been really quiet on the seas too. It's a sentiment I hear from a lot of folks. A lot of folks are talking about how the oceans are pretty empty. I think honestly, the last 2 days were this Golden Glory weekend is the time that I've seen the most people on the seas, and it's been surprising. Everyone's waiting. They're ready to jump into the game, but they just need a reason. And I think Golden Glory is a great way to do that. I think it's a fun way to kind of incentivize players to get back on, especially with a new season coming up. It's a great time for players to start stocking up cash because, like you mentioned in the trailer, it looks like we're getting a ton of cosmetics, and it'll be really fun to see how much all of this stuff is going to cost, how much of it's going to be in the season pass, figure out what's going on with the waters and these different things we got. And at the end of the trailer, as we're going down into the water, which John McMurtry and that team are doing such a killer job with these videos. I absolutely love them. It looks like we're finally going to be getting some of that underwater adventure that I've been wanting for a while. Like, I've wanted to explore the seas. I've wanted there to be stuff under the water that we can go check out. A long time ago, you and I talked about different shipwreck types. You know, I would love it if they started to expand on some of the things that we have in the game, and it looks like they're doing that in this case. And I'm glad that they're not using the sirens as kind of a one and done event where it was tied to the tall tales. We see them in the water. Sometimes you'll get them around shipwrecks, but that's about it. I like that we're diving deeper, not to use that pun, but we're diving deeper into the lore and to that world to give us an idea of what could be happening in the future, what happened in the past to cause our future, and how it's going to impact us from here on out.
Yeah, the great thing about how Sea of Thieves has developed over the last 3.5 years is that they've built a lot of things for Tall Tales, and then those have sort of come into the regular adventure mode in other ways, used in other ways, like the ghost fleets and whatnot. And now we're seeing another example of it here with stuff from A Pirate's Life becoming part of the regular adventure world. And I think that's fantastic. And the only thing I hope is that those underwater locations are different enough from each other and that it's a different experience with however many locations we're going to have to explore.
Yeah, that's a really good thought that I hadn't considered. It would be a shame if a lot of these are kind of like I equate it kind of to the gold vaults, where the gold vaults that came out, they were great when you did one, but once you did one, you understood exactly how every single other gold vault worked. And I think the thing that I enjoyed the most about both Tall Tale 2 from A Pirate's Life and Tall Tale 4, which unfortunately you haven't had an experience with, but just based on those two tall tales, they're very different in how some of their mechanics work. And I hope that they take some of that learning and they're developing whatever these things are, which I'm assuming they're going to be little caches of gold for us to gather. Yeah. We've seen the treasure. It looks like it's covered in barnacles. We know we're going to be going under the water. So I'm assuming that whatever we're doing out there is going to be like an underwater vault tied to the ancients, which is interesting because the gold vaults themselves have had these tributes to the ancients, but we know absolutely nothing about them. And I wonder if we're going to, or do you think we're going to be expanding on more of that as we go along? Or do you think that was just kind of a weird thing that we added to the gold vaults to add like a special chest?
Hopefully. I mean, that was a lot of fun when those vaults debuted. I think my only worry about this is, okay, you're under the water, your crew's under the water. What's happening to your ship above? Like probably it just as people found when they were starting Tall Tale 2, it sort of leaves your ship vulnerable. So I wonder how all that is going to play out.
You're not wrong. Just yesterday when I was sailing with my friend, we went to go do Tall Tale 2. And when we started getting closer and closer to the beacon, we realized that there was a brig there. And I told him, I was like, hey, we could go there, but I think the experience is going to be better if we jump servers and start on a fresh server and check and see if anyone's doing it again. I was surprised that anyone was actually doing it, but with that in this, it feels kind of the same. It feels like there's a good chance that maybe someone has to now stay on the boat. Do you think? Like, do you think this is where we start going back to having lookouts and having someone stick around? Like, I feel like a lot of pirates on the seas have gotten so used to scanning the horizon and having that instinct to go up somewhere high on the island and check around, but without having a set lookout on the ship, you don't really need to with islands, because you can always check and see what's going on and get back to your ship pretty quickly. With this, you're going under the water. There's no high place to check the horizon. You're literally going to be stuck underwater. And if that's the case, maybe it's worth having someone actually out on the ship.
That, or you never know when a storm is going to come over and potentially do harm to your ship that way. It'll be real interesting. And just like players have sort of learned what position ships who are doing vaults are in, potentially, like if you see a ship on a certain side of Devil's Ridge or a certain side of Mermaid's Hideaway, you can surmise that, oh, they're doing the vault. I wonder if something like that will happen with this, where it's like, oh, this player ship is clearly doing this. We can go over there, get them completely by surprise. They're not going to know. Like, they're going to basically spawn into a bunch of chaos. It just seems to... It's going to be interesting to see what happens when this thing gets out into the wild and people start playing it.
It's true. I have a curveball question for you, so I apologize if you have to take a moment to think about this. So I'll try to give you some time here. But how do you feel about content coming into the game that continues to take us away from being on islands where ancient skellies spawn? Because at this point, I like that we're exploring the ocean, but it's weird to me that we have a skeleton that awards real life money currency equivalent for the game, and the more and more content we get for the game is continuing to keep us away from being on those islands where those skeletons are supposed to spawn.
That's a good point. It's been a while since I've seen an ancient skeleton, and the last time I did, it was on a fort.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe they could do a waterborne, like an ancient siren. Is that what you're pitching?
I like that idea. I really wish I had like a good thing for them to kind of supplant the land-based version of one. Like, I don't know what that would be, but I definitely feel like maybe wherever we're going, obviously where we're going is probably going to have some semblance of air or something for us to be able to breathe, to be underwater exploring whatever these things are. So I'm assuming that has to be a thing, but maybe wherever we're going, this loot has a chance to award ancient coins. Maybe. I mean, they are called ancient coins. I can't imagine that would be just for the sake of having a name attached to a currency. I mean, they could have called them anything. They didn't have to call them ancient coins, but being that we're going underwater and there's big statues of ancient people, I mean, maybe there's a chance that wherever we're going has a chance for one of these skeletons to show up down there, and maybe we don't have to fight it. Maybe we just collect the ancient coins, but it's a chance of, I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of hope so. Or something like the mysterious box of secrets that I still haven't seen in the game.
I know, me either. Wow.
But some kind of chance to get that in the water or on one of these sort of underwater tales. Yeah.
I think this needs to be addressed, because I'm all for Rare adding new content to the game. I love it when they do it with story, And I love when we have something unique. A lot of people are kind of tired of the voyages. They don't want to bother going onto the same islands. Everyone avoids, Old Faithful Island, and everyone's sick of Thieves Haven. So you really are kind of running into the situation where some of the stuff that is taking us to islands is stuff that people just absolutely hate doing. So to try and keep it fresh, they're adding this new content where it takes us to different locations. And I love that. But at the same time, it doesn't really incentivize players who are out there trying to earn like small amounts of ancient coins for the sake of the Pirate Emporium. Like, it doesn't really benefit anyone to do this content if they're trying to earn ancient coins to give them enough to be able to buy emotes or pets if they don't want to infuse the Sea of Thieves game with their own cash.
That's true, but we do get ancient coins in the season pass, right? Or the renown system.
Yeah, we do, and that does.
So at least we get some that way.
That's true. So yeah, if you're at least working on your season pass, then there's a good chance that if you're doing this content, you're working towards ancient coins. That's a fair point.
Yeah.
So we covered Sea of Thieves, new comic that's out. Go to Comixology. We know that the new season is coming on September 23rd. The trailer looks awesome. We were able to get some insight on what we're going to be doing as far as venturing to these different locations, seeing this new treasure, and using the gold and doubloons and ancient coins to pick up some of the new cosmetics. But there's a lot of Sea of Thieves that has yet to be explored in a different aspect. And I'm talking about modes. Right now we have two modes. We have Arena and we have Adventure. Arena doesn't have any actual development catered to it. Like, they're working on improvements or they change something if something becomes an issue, but there's not a dedicated team working on that. And before we dive into what I think might actually help with that, I wanted to bring up something that gives me a sense that is going to be the status quo for some time, because we got a new episode for the Sea of Thieves podcast. I listened to it. I enjoyed it immensely. CJ, you'd mentioned that you had listened to this as well. What were some of your thoughts on getting a third episode to this podcast that started back in, gosh, what was it, April of this year?
Yeah, it was great to hear from the devs again and hear all of the backstory about A Pirate's Life. It did sound like they recorded this quite a while ago during the Olympics with some of the anecdotes that the dev team offered during this. But I thought it was a great episode. The best news out of that for me was that Joe Neate talked about they're pre-planning for upcoming seasons, and as of the recording of that podcast, they were just about to go into a meeting about season 7. So very interesting that they're planning these seasons that far ahead. And he also mentioned, the next few years of Sea of Thieves. So that also, as a fan of this game, gets me really excited that they're planning years ahead.
It's crazy, right? Like, yeah, it feels like we just got a huge content dump. And they're talking in this podcast about, and this was for anyone that's looking for a time frame. I'm guessing that this was sometime during the Plunder games. So when they recorded this, it's unclear why it took them so long to release this episode. I feel like there was just they were busy doing something else, or they were working on things, or it needed to be approved. But yeah, I was happy to hear that they're working on season 7 already. The couple key takeaways that I noticed was that Joe had talked about kind of upgrading the events, and how the events that they've had for the season so far were good, but they recognize that most people aren't totally satisfied with them. And I'm glad that they're seeing that feedback, and I'm glad that they're taking that into account with future events. Additionally, I was really surprised that they are talking about how they're adding teams to the company, and how those teams are getting more and more lead time with each season. Because I think, had it not been for A Pirate's Life and how much work that they were putting into that, I think there would have been more content coming to Adventure. that would have been for each of the seasons. And I think that maybe the reason the first couple seasons were light is because they were really, really kind of testing, working hard, long nights on getting A Pirate's Life polished for release in season 3. Do you think that's about right?
That sounds right to me. Yeah.
Breaking news in Sea of Thieves. I'm Dan Purring. This just in. Reports are coming in that large numbers of humble and generous gifts have been found at the stone archways leading to the Sea of the Damned. Some are suspecting that pirates are attempting to bring these gifts into the Sea of the Damned. We now go live to our news correspondent in Puerto Dorado, or Gold Harbor in Isla Tesoro, also known as Treasure Island, who's attempting to uncover the truth behind this mystery. Chad?
No, I don't know how we're getting back. We're what? Chad here. After speaking with many of the high-spirited locals, many are unsure what the true reasoning is, but do believe these gifts are intended for one Captain Red. While not much is currently known about Red, other than being the head auctioneer in town, many pirates have tried wooing her to no avail. While unable to speak with us live, she did have this to say. Thank you, dear pirates, for your loving attention, and while I appreciate it, I'm sorry if I've left you feeling ghosted. Now back to you, Dan Purring.
This has been your Sea of Thieves breaking news. Now back to the high seas with new bees. So with season 7 being worked on by, at this point, we don't know if they're working on season 8 yet or not. Do you feel like we're going to be getting another big drop of content? Do you feel like there's enough time? Let's see, September is season 4. So that'll be 3 months. So that'll take us to the middle of November. Is that right? September, October, November, December.
No,
maybe
like
end of December. Okay, so end of December.
Yeah, but I can't imagine they start a new season in December.
Really?
Probably more like January.
Okay. You think they're taking the time off during December and pushing it out a little bit?
Yeah, I think it would be, just from a game development standpoint, it's harder to support a game. Like, 'cause if they put a new patch out on December 22nd, let's say, then everybody's going to be away from for the holidays. So what do you do in terms of support? I think we're likely to see, I don't know, a shortened season or some kind of thing like that. Or I'm just speculating there, or maybe they'll extend the next season.
I could see that. I could see them pushing it out. It's so weird that it's starting, because they've got a lot of holidays this time of year for them to see if they want to actually participate in. Typically, they have a Halloween event. They usually have a Thanksgiving event, and then they usually have a Christmas event.
That's right.
It's really interesting to think, like, if I would be really surprised if they decided to change the renown gain during this to kind of take longer, so that the events mean more when you actually go do them. So you're not just doing them for the sake of getting whatever cosmetics are offered during that time. I also kind of wonder when they're going to be doing Emporium updates for this as well too, because that tends to be kind of a big thing for them, and Emporium updates generally don't happen as often during these seasons as either. We've only had 2 this season.
Yeah.
So I wonder when they're going to be doing that, because I can't imagine that they're going to go like with just 2 updates. I would be very surprised if they decided to do one update that introduced the content that is coming in for the beginning of season 4, and then not add anything for Halloween in the Emporium, and they just had it all for adventure mode. And then maybe like one update in December or November that would encompass the Thanksgiving and Christmas holiday season.
Possibly. This is the first, this is the first year they've done. We will have had seasons during this sort of busy time when Sea of Thieves had previously added stuff for the bilge rats, and then the sort of gilded missions that come in December. So it'll be interesting how they handle all that this time. Yeah.
And if you listen to the podcast, you probably heard Goldilocks on from Twitter, who's one of the actual devs who worked on A Pirate's Life, having him tackle the season 4 and season 5, that was kind of his thing. So George Orton, who I remember is just Goldilocks on Twitter, he's actually kind of developing most of season 4 and season 5. So most of his content's going to be out now, and starting at what I would assume is probably close to the beginning of the year. And season 5, if you're right, say season 5 starts at the beginning of January, that means it will end around March, if not April. And that would be right around the time that we would be finding out if there's going to be like an anniversary update.
That's true. Yeah.
So he's got quite a bit on his plate as a senior designer. And I'm really interested to see like how he tackles this, because not only has he got Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, potentially New Year's. I don't think, like last year we had the Grogmanay stuff that came in.
Oh, right.
So I don't know if we're going to be doing anything like that to celebrate Grogmanay, or Hogmanay, as the actual holiday is called, and as well as potentially the 4th anniversary of the game coming to to season 5. It's absolutely insane the amount of content that is potentially coming on. So, you know, hopefully he's got a clear idea of what he wants. He's got a lot of really good teams supporting him in this, but this is probably going to be the busiest time for them, and hopefully they don't end up having to crunch. Ahoy there, pirates. This is the ad for this episode, and I did want to let you know, if you wanted to avoid these and just get a regular filler, you can head over to the Patreon. There's a special feed just for patrons that get the ad-free version. If you want to keep listening, though, I can't say I blame you, because this week I want to let you know about Loot Crate and getting 15% off of most crates and crate subscriptions when you use the link and code RobotsRadio in the show notes. Also, you can head over to audiobooks.com, get your first 3 audiobooks for free, and that can include any 2 VIP books, or use the affiliate link for Green Man Gaming. If you're a PC gamer or you'd like to save money on games, it's one of the benefits of being a PC gamer. Head over to Green Man Gaming. You can get codes for Steam, Epic, any of the different stores that they have deals going on. They have deals going on all the time, and if you plan on buying there, please consider using our affiliate link. All of that goes straight to me through the network. Thank you all so much for everything that you do to support this podcast. It means the world to me, and I continue to try and improve the quality and the content for you. With that, pirates, let's get back to the show.
I agree. Absolutely. Yeah. And the time, especially before the holidays, you got to get a lot of stuff done so that you have stuff ready for January, right? So I would assume Rare is going to be doing a lot of that stuff pre-holiday, and just like this year started with season 1 in January. I'd imagine it'd be a good time to start season 5 at that point.
Yeah. Which means if that's the case, then they're planning in August for season 7, which if season 6 starts in April, so April, May, June, that means that in August they're planning content for next July.
That's right. Yeah.
Wow. That's a long lead time for sure.
That's great, though. To me, that inspires a lot of confidence that Microsoft has confidence in the game. Rare has confidence in the game continuing. This means that the game has a long future ahead of it, and it's a very exciting time to be a player of this game.
It's been insane. I don't know. I know you and I listen to a lot of podcasts, so I don't know what your anecdotes are on this, but just from my perspective, I have been seeing so much more conversation about Sea of Thieves across the board from many different podcasts that don't cover Sea of Thieves. And it's insane. It's the Pirate's Life update has absolutely woken up the gaming community to Sea of Thieves being a thing that people should take notice of. And I hear it in conversation about how they talk about how a lot of people are impressed that there's no RPG mechanics. Everyone is on even keel. You get the same damage as everyone else. You don't have to worry about level progression. It's all cosmetic. I've heard a ton of people talk about how great the Pirate's Life update is, how much they love Jack Sparrow and the inclusion into that game, and how the water's so perfect. it's been crazy. So now thinking about that and how they're already working a year out for content that's coming next year, I'm really impressed with how Rare is just taking care of this IP, because a lot of conversation has come out around, should they be doing a Sea of Thieves 2? Should they be working on a Banjo-Kazooie? What can Rare do with Eternals, and is Eternals going to be, or not Eternals, Everwild? If that's going to be the Sea of Thieves 2 for the studio, now that they have all of this experience. What are kind of your thoughts on how Sea of Thieves is perceived by the public? Like, have you been seeing any of this from your perspective?
I've definitely been seeing a lot more positive comments, a lot more people coming to try the game with the Pirates of the Caribbean stuff, which has been great. You know, around launch, there were so many comments about how there's nothing to do in the game. There's no point. Now you don't hear that anymore. And I do see a lot of people on message boards and Reddit, trying the game for the first time and coming away with positive experiences, and that's good. Yeah. It's amazing that this game that didn't do very well on Metacritic is still kicking 3.5 years later, and really no signs of stopping.
Yeah, it's been great. I think the team has shown their love, their passion for it. This episode, I really wish that they were able to get these episodes out sooner. I'd love to talk to Mike and get some thoughts on him about Pirate's Life, how things are going with that. So I'm hoping that that's a thing that can happen in the future. With the season, or with episode 3, that's available out there. All you have to do is look on their main channels, or check my Twitter. I've got some tweets about that as well. I love that they aren't saying that the Pirates of the Caribbean content is the only time we'll get Disney stuff. They aren't confirming or denying that more Disney stuff is coming, but they didn't say that it's not. And I'm glad, because I think a lot of us have had some really fun ideas about what future Disney IP could be, or what we could see, even if it's just little things here and there. From your perspective, with you sailing like with your daughter and stuff, is this something where you've started to see her interest with Disney IP coming to Sea of Thieves, or have you wanted any different IP from Disney to be put into the lore for Sea of Thieves or into the game?
I mean, I think it'd be fantastic if we got some Peter Pan stuff, or some Monkey Island stuff, some more obvious Monkey Island stuff.
Yeah.
Because there already are some references in A Pirate's Life. But the fact that they said they had options in their contract with Disney to do future things, whether that's more Pirates of the Caribbean or other Disney licenses, other Disney properties, I think that's fantastic. You know, hopefully that this expansion has done well, both for Rare and for Disney, in terms of, getting Pirates of the Caribbean back out there.
Yeah.
My daughter is now a big fan of the Pirates of the Caribbean films, because she's seen them because of A Pirate's Life. So I'm excited about that for sure. Or any other pirate-based IPs that want to come to the game, I'm fine with that too.
Is there one that you can think of that you'd want to see coming in? I know a lot of people are big fans of Assassin's Creed Black Flag. Do you think that there'd ever be a chance where Ubisoft would be willing to work with Rare?
I doubt it.
Yeah.
Just because Ubisoft has Skull and Bones are still around. So
true. Yeah, that's a fair comparison. And that is something that's still being worked on. I know I've heard rumblings that we're going to be hearing about that soon, but it's still, I think it's still a bit out, but I'm glad that they're still building on that. I would love to see what a Black Flag, or no, what, oh God, Skull and Bones.
Black Sails?
Skull and Bone, or sorry, I was mixing up my IPs there. I would love to see Black Flag come to Sea of Thieves. That would be amazing.
That would be awesome.
Especially with Captain Flint voicing the actual audiobook. Oh, man, I would love that. But I was thinking with Skull and Bones, I would love to see what a Skull and Bones looks like after 4 years of Sea of Thieves being on the market, given that they were actually gunning for the pirate game to the end all be all for pirate games when they were both coming out at relatively the same time. they pushed out and then have subsequently been furthering development on it. But I'd love to know if they are planning on like a campaign with it now.
Yeah, I'm curious about that too, because around that time when Sea of Thieves came out originally, and then
Skull and Bones.
I'm confused.
Sorry.
Skull and Bones was announced. People were like, "Oh, well, I was disappointed in Sea of Thieves. Maybe Skull and Bones will be the pirate game that I want." Meanwhile, Sea of Thieves has become the pirate game a lot of people wanted. And while Skull and Bones is... Wait, did I say that right?
Yeah.
While Skull and Bones is still in development.
Yeah.
Okay.
These pirate IPs, man, it's it's so funny. Yeah, I would love to see Skull and Bones deliver on what I think a lot of fans of more gritty realism wanted from a pirate game that Black Flag had, but didn't make the entirety of that game. They did a good job with the Assassin's Creed game as itself, but a lot of people love the sailing and going around and doing piratey stuff in there, and I think they just wanted more of that. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Speaking of Skull and Bones was predominantly a PvP based game. They didn't have any story. It wasn't based on the lore. It was just they wanted to have a shooty with pirates and yars. We were talking a little bit ago about different modes in Sea of Thieves and Arena. You came to me with an idea, and I really like this idea, but you came to me with an idea for a different mode in Sea of Thieves. So give me the pitch on what you think would be a good mode for Sea of Thieves.
Sure. I think we had been playing Ghost of Tsushima Legends, which is a sort of offshoot of Ghost of Tsushima that's only multiplayer and has different progression than the main game. And we mainly played the Horde mode in that. And, back when Arena was first announced, the team had said, the reason for it is sort of that on-demand pirate action, right? They wanted to get you right in the thick of things right away and get that sort of Sea of Thieves experience in a 20-minute chunk. And for a little while, I think it worked until people showed up and decided they didn't want to do the digs or didn't want to do anything but PvP. In that mode. So when we were playing Ghost of Tsushima Legends and playing this Horde mode, I thought like this could be fun in Sea of Thieves, because we're jumping from point to point, defeating enemies. This could be like, imagine if this was in Sea of Thieves. What would that look like?
You pretty much did the thing that always happens when you're a big fan of something. You look at something else and you're like, God, that's really fun. I wish it were in the game that I play all the time.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
But not just that. I mean, I think there's a lot of opportunity there because there are players who just want PvP, or there are players who just want PvE. And how can you potentially create something in Sea of Thieves that would satisfy both audiences there and still give them that Sea of Thieves experience in a 20-minute chunk? And that's another thing that I think the game sort of struggles at, is giving you that experience in a short chunk. Oftentimes, many of us end up saying, "Oh, I'll play for a little bit," and then like 6 hours later, look at the time. Oh my God.
Yeah, you're not wrong on that. That is definitely been the biggest pain point for me with Sea of Thieves. Is when I sail, I always want to sail either super short, really casual, don't commit to anything, don't start up a vault, don't go for commendations or anything like that. Just go around, look for different skeletons, kill them, get the small voyage out of that, and then work, go turn in what little bit of treasure I managed to scrounge up and work on like a meg or a skeleton ship. And I'm not a fan of Arena because they took the version of it that I liked and they got rid of it. They didn't just put it into a different mode. They completely killed that mode and scrubbed it down into a smaller experience. And as a result of that, the emphasis of fighting on the ships has been completely nullified. People just fight on the island. They don't do anything with the actual chest because it's just one chest. And I miss that desire for playing Sea of Thieves in a short amount of time, as frantic as it is, but going around to different islands, either attacking ships or trying to dig up as many chests as you can and turn them in, or sinking a ship that has all the chests and then grabbing those and trying to turn those in while defending it. And it lent itself to different types of players coming together for a shorter amount of time. And being able to really emphasize how much fun you can have, even if you're not a sole PvPer. Like, it's good to have PvPers with you, but if you're a PvE player, you still have a point on the ship. And I'm bummed that Arena has been relegated to TDM. So
Yeah.
what you're suggesting is something that we had a lot of fun with, which was a Horde mode. And I love the idea of Sea of Thieves having a Horde mode. So I put together a small little document that kind of brings up some of the main things that I think would be interesting about a Horde mode, like how it would look in Sea of Thieves. So I was thinking, right now we have the Ashen Lords. The Ashen Lords have a big fiery pile of skulls, and you see the tornado in the sky, and there's always a bunch of skeletons surrounding it, kind of working on a summons. Now, the summons isn't actually a timed thing. It is just a cosmetic thing that they use to indicate, like, this is the spot where the Ashen Lord is going to spawn. With a Horde mode, I think it would be great if there were points that you had to defend, say 4 points around an island. It could be a relatively small island. It could be a wider island. I was thinking, for the purposes of this, using parts of Sharkbait Cove, because Sharkbait Cove is relatively flat. There is some water in between areas, but you definitely have a lot of areas that you can set things up. Especially the inner circle has 4 islands that I think would be perfect points, because there's something in the middle that kind of connects them all. And having different skeleton points, these little ritual skull piles in and around the island that will constantly summon skeletons at different points. And when we were playing Ghost of Tsushima Legends, there were 4 points on a beach, and were there 4 or were there 5? I think there might have been.
I think there were 3.
Were there 3? We had
It was beach,
the ship,
and then also the camp.
Okay, so 3 points. So maybe 4 is too much. Maybe you could just get away with 3 points. But each point had an encircled area, and you had to defeat the enemies that were trying to invade those circles. And if you weren't present, they would be on the point and they would start to capture it. And the more they captured it, the less health you gained, or could have. And it kind of accelerated that. So you had to go and split up or either work together to try and cycle from point to point to point, and you always had to try and clear out those areas to make sure that you didn't lose those points, because it was dangerous. If you did, you weren't going to have as much health, you weren't going to be able to earn as much experience, and they would reset after a boss phase. So I was thinking, with a Horde mode for Sea of Thieves, if you had different points on the island that were these skull piles, and the way that we have skeleton forts, that every time there's a wave, a group of new skeletons tends to spawn up, and we just go and kill the skeletons, but it doesn't really matter where they are. They always just try to funnel to you, sometimes one at a time, sometimes all at once, sometimes with kegs. But how do you feel so far with where I'm at with this Horde mode?
I think this is good. I think, and I thought about it a little bit differently than you, but similar.
So if you had to change anything that we've kind of covered so far, what do you think would be another way of going about it?
What I had was 3 capture points on outposts. So the Horde mode would take place on outposts instead of islands, just to have different locations that are easily traversed. People know the layouts of those pretty well, and you'd have 3 points that would have flags. At first, the flags are flying your colors, and if skellies get to them and start their sort of ritual thing, like with the skull pile, they can lower your flag and raise theirs. And the idea would be to defend the outpost.
Ooh, I really like this, because I'll be honest, this was something that I thought Curse Sales was going to be back in year 1. So I'm
right.
I'm all for this. I love this idea. That's great.
Let's do some stuff on the outposts.
That would be fun. Okay, so question then. Do you think that this would be something that would be an adventure, or would you want this as a separate mode that just happens to take place on outposts?
Separate mode. Yeah.
Okay.
Like we're sort of talking about with Ghost of Tsushima Legends, it's a separate game completely.
Yeah.
It has its own different vibe whereas I think some of the locations are shared. But yeah, I would have this be separate. And it'd be nice to have something to raise Sea Dog's XP with that isn't arena.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Okay. So I want to fly with your idea, because I like the potential that you have here, because you have 4 different flags on the outpost. You've got vendors, and potentially with a skeletal invasion, or even just like a phantom invasion or an ocean crawler invasion. It doesn't really necessarily matter which one it is, but I like that the idea of that can get messed around with to try and add some diversity to the actual enemies. You have vendors.
Yes.
And that was something that I noticed with Ghost of Tsushima. In the Legends mode, there were altars that you could earn Oni, I think, charms from, and then you could turn those into get perks for your samurai.
Yes.
Are you thinking with the outposts that the vendors would be ways to either increase your damage with weapons, or add health or regen, or give you different items? Like, what were you thinking would be kind of an escalation for the progression for that?
Well, I mean, because Sea of Thieves itself does not have power progression, I didn't think of it in a way that it would add power necessarily. What I was thinking more is in between waves, or after a boss wave, the vendors would open up and you can use the gold that you've earned by killing skeletons to buy items that can then help you in the next round. And those are things like kegs or Disney sticks, the tridents.
Yeah.
Or what are some of the other things? A portable ammo crate. Because here's the other thing. Like, you could put an ammo crate in one location on the island, and then you'd have to buy portable ones for later waves. That could be really interesting. Like, if you had to decide which one, which thing you would get. Should you get a fruit crate or an ammo crate? Or
I can see the potential there, because you have a weapon shop. The weapon shop could be the place where you refill your ammo, but you would also go to the tavern to buy like a fruit crate, or you could go to it'd be interesting to see if you could build up anything that would actually act as like a fortification. Like, it'd be really interesting if you could find a way to repair a cannon, and that cannon is pointed in a direction that would help defend it. But the way that you had to build it was you would have to actually buy a wood crate and then repair the cannon, and then repair a wheel connected to it to be able to turn it, maybe something like that.
Exactly.
I like that.
Exactly, Logan. And not only for defending points with that cannon, but also traversal around the island.
Oh, yeah, that's true, because you can use those as well too. That's a really good idea. Nice.
That could be really fun, right?
Yeah, I could definitely see that. So you've got 4 points. The vendors open up between waves. When I was thinking about this, I was figuring like a 15 wave Horde mode is pretty par for the course for most modes that I've played, unless you're going like unlimited, which I think would be really interesting. But I was thinking every 5 levels, you could have a different type of boss type. And I was thinking level 5, you'd start off easy. You'd get 1 skeletal lord. Level 10, you would get a flame lord. And then level 15 would be a gold hoarder. And each of those would, like with the captains having maps you can go around. We already can dig on outposts, so that's already set there. But having the ability for skeleton captains or bosses to either drop like a flame skull so that you can use that for the next wave, or drop a map that allows you to dig up a mega keg, or drops the gold hoarder skull for the sake of having a really good cash in if you need to buy a lot of stuff or something like that. But that was kind of where I was heading with the different levels. Did you have some ideas as far as like your wave situation on how you wanted to build that out?
No, I'm right there with you on that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, having maps, especially on outposts, which is a location you don't normally have maps makes it interesting to like have to learn those islands a little more.
Yeah, definitely.
So.
I love this. I love the idea of it being on an outpost, because you could totally set this up as so to kind of give anyone that doesn't remember, back in when we were talking about curse sales, the idea that I had was having outposts get attacked. It's something we've seen in the comics. It's something that we saw when Curse Sails came out. They actually erected their own banners to kind of taunt pirates to come out to fight them in the different fleet areas back before they moved them inward to the central of the seas. But my idea is that a ship would sail up, and you had to deal with the skeletons that had left the actual skeleton ship that had docked at the outpost. Once you cleared out that, the vendors would stop being scared and go back and open up their shops, and then you would have to go and actually defeat the captain on the skeleton ship. And then once you did that, then the outpost would open up, the skeleton ship would be destroyed, and then you would have to go deal with the rest of the fleet. But that was kind of the initial idea that I thought Curse Sales was going to be. I was kind of right with that when it actually did come out. But if you were to take this mode as its own separate game mode with, say, like Arena, this would be really fun to have you spawn on an island, wake up, realize that there's a warning klaxon, now that we have a warning klaxon out, to signal each of the different waves, kind of similar to a fort. And you see a big Dutchman-sized skeleton ship sail up, and all of the, a gangplank drops down, and all of these skeletons start coming out single file, guns and swords in hand. And you're like, oh, here we go. And that is how it kind of kicks off. Like, what?
Yes,
that's kind of what I'm thinking when you start talking about fighting on outposts.
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't that be amazing to have that happen on an outpost?
Oh,
and
man.
There's a bunch of outposts that have multiple docks that could be interesting locations for skeletons to show up at. Whether that's Plunder Outpost, you have the main dock and the back dock. You have Daggertooth, which has an array of different locations that skeleton ships could pull up to.
100%. Golden Sands is a great one. It's very wide and has multiple docks as well too. That'd be a great way to kind of push and pull pirates from different points as well too. You've got a skeleton. Even if you go to Golden Sands, there is one skeleton ship every time that is so bold. He just strolls right up to that dock and just about drops anchor before turning off. You could definitely have different points on Golden Sands Outpost that allow for ships to come in, dock, skeletons wander off and start filtering through the rest of the outpost. And you are having to actually go from place to place to place, and having the ability to purchase resources from the vendors between waves, and then move those resources out, like getting, being able to purchase a rowboat and then use a rowboat to stock a bunch of kegs to swim or to row over to the other side of the outpost, so that you can unload them quicker than trying to run a keg all the way across the Golden Sands blog post because there's a ship coming in.
Yeah. And then also we have, fog and rain and different weather types, and different types of enemies too. Now that there aren't just skeletons, we have ocean crawlers and phantoms as well. Like maybe they could get in on the mix. So there's a lot of different options. You could even bring back the Eye of Reach skeleton to islands and have them be part of this. That could be pretty interesting.
Man. Yeah.
Maybe that, but
yeah, you could. The
interesting thing about this idea when we started talking about it, Logan, is that arena mode isn't what, like, a lot of people are like, yes, PvP, more PvP, that's great. And a lot of other people are like, well, I don't want to play with other players. I want just my team versus the environment. And this sort of horde mode thing definitely satisfies that, right? And for people who want a harder, more difficult experience, you could probably have different levels of difficulty here on different outposts. If it's Ancient Spire and one of the points is up top, like, it's going to be real hard to defend that. Like, you're going to have to really coordinate with your team, and it could be just a really interesting thing to watch too.
Yeah,
to watch players to take on.
Now, we're talking about a horde mode right now, which is going to satisfy a large portion of a community that want a PvE only version of the game. I could very easily see this being something that is tied to multiple teams working against each other with a PvP mode. Like, say you are a defending crew and you have three teams of pirates. There's 2 attacking and 1 defending. And you can kind of have that push or pull where, or maybe even just 2 teams where it's 2 teams of 4, and you've got 2 pirates that spawn on one ship and 2 pirates that spawn on another ship on the opposite side of an outpost. And you have to deal with them coming in and trying to take points. And you, as a team of 4, have to try and defend those points, and you have to try and like sneak around, and you have the 3 different points to try and capture. I think of Destiny a lot when I think of like Control, because you have teams of, I think it's either 4 or 6, and it all comes down to who's able to kind of try and push the different teams into different groups while you capture those points. Do you think something like that has a, like, is there room for playing around with that idea with this setup?
I think so. I thought of something different for PvP.
Really? What do you got?
I thought of basically a mode that would set you and another team around a skeleton fort, and it would be a sort of King of the Hill type mode where the hill would move to different locations on the skeleton fort, and you'd have to control that area.
I do love that idea.
Team. And it would move, so it wouldn't be as easy as the hill is in the center of the fort and you have to get there. It'd be like, oh, suddenly it moved to the beach, so now you have to deal with that, and the other team could get the upper hand in that. So yeah, I sort of thought it as 2 teams. One starts north of the fort, the other starts on a ship south of the fort. You sail up and see what happens from there.
So have it start in the middle per se, and then after a certain amount of time it shifts to a different location, and then hopefully pirates have killed each other and there's a staggering in how many people. Kind of like I think Overwatch has modes kind of like this where it's a push and pull with the map, and the map is mirrored. Sea of Thieves not so much because it's wonky, and I'm kind of okay with that, but it definitely feels like 2 teams come together in the middle, and then as the actual match progresses, you start to shift locations. That's really cool. I like that idea. That's something. How do you feel about the idea of something I've never let go of, which is the idea of a point control with the beacons, where you have multiple beacons and you have to light them, douse them, and the more time that you have yours lit, the more points you earn, and you have multiple crews coming at it, and each one has their own flame.
Yeah, I like that. What if it was a movable thing? So the beacons aren't movable on those islands. What if it was a movable thing? Or like maybe it's the cursed captain skull that you need to keep as part of your crew, right? And you had, let's say, 4 crews going around Crook's Hollow, and you have to defend basically this movable thing that
it's
could get taken by another team at any time and held on to, and it's all about the amount of time that you hold on to the thing.
You know what that reminds me of? I can't remember if I think it's Skull Ball in
it's Halo.
But the skull talks, and it constantly yelling, "Hey, I'm over here."
Exactly. Yeah, it wouldn't be a quiet thing. It would be talking and yelling, so you'd hear where it was.
Please,
because there's no radar, you wouldn't be necessarily be able to see. So
it's all location based. God, Rare. If there was ever an opportunity for you to capitalize on Halo Infinite coming out, please, when they release Forge mode, put in your own forged mode and make an arena mode that is literally just Skullball with the cursed captain. And heck, even just take that portion, just take Sailor's Grave town and make that the place. You know, it's already set up, like it's already done. You don't even have to make a new mode. You just have to take that, cut it out, you know, make it into its own little mode, and have the cursed captain do his thing, and then you've got different crews coming in. God, that would be hilarious. I would love
that could be really funny. And especially in Sea of Thieves, like when you're holding treasure, you're slower already. And I think that was the thing in Halo, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, so going back to Ghost of Tsushima Legends, they have a rivals mode that pits two teams against each other. Thinking about how that could be done in Sea of Thieves, let's say you take two islands that are about the same size and give two crews basically missions to do on those islands and race against each other. So you'd have treasure maps, you'd have some Order of Souls stuff, and maybe some other things like running around the island, like delivery type things. You could pair up some of the islands like Plunder Valley and Discovery Ridge that are within view distance of each other, where the status of what the other team is doing could be shown by a cloud in the sky. So you would know that they're on their second wave or they've started their second round of maps. And then there are other island pairs like Cannon Cove and Lone Cove, or Lookout Point and Booty Isle, or Crook's Hollow and Devil's Ridge, where it's like you can see those island locations from the other one, but there is also no fear that another crew could swim over and interrupt. Like you're really just racing. It's a PvE race type of thing.
So there's okay, so you're talking in Ghost of Tsushima. This is anyone that's been playing Destiny is familiar with a gambit mode, where gambit mode is it's a race for PvE, and they have an opportunity for invaders. Ghost of Tsushima doesn't have that invasion aspect of it, but I actually think that Sea of Thieves might be good for that. I think Sea of Thieves has an opportunity because we do have rowboats and we do have revive ability. I think this would be perfect for a pirate legend theme, and it's Athena's race. You've got dark adventurers versus pirate lords, and you've got the two separate pirate legends in their own theme, and they are pitted against each other, but it's whoever can get through the Athena on one island the fastest, whether you're doing digs, riddles, you have to grab animals and you have to deliver them to a ship that's passing by or a ship that's docked, and once they're delivered they leave and you take care of the merchant stuff. And it educates people that are familiar with the Athena voyages that are so defunct at the moment that people are screaming for a revision for that mode. But if you take that, you stick it all on one island, you pit a crew against another crew on a different island, and they have to do that against time. And you give them each an opportunity to find something that unlocks the rowboat, and then a rowboat can then head over to the other island, and you can either send one person or multiple people, but it's up to you because it impacts how fast you actually go about getting your voyage done. Other people can focus on that. If they have one really good PvPer, you can just send the one PvPer to rowboat over to the other island. Once they're dead, they respawn on their ship back at their own island, and they've lost their rowboat. Well,
yes. I mean, what I'm thinking more is to not allow PvP to happen in this mode, and instead, well, in a matter of saying, you could allow things like cursed cannonball effects, or once I've completed my maps and I go and run and light the beacon or whatever, I send hordes of ocean crawlers over to the other team on the other island, or curse them with something else, or they have an additional dig now on their map. Different effects there that can like stymie the other crew that are not directly PvP, because I know PvP is a little contentious in the community. Like, how can we sort of open up the Sea of Thieves experience, this sort of quick draw 20-minute experience, without allowing people to TDM on a beach?
How do you feel about so I like the idea of when you complete an objective, you can make it harder for the other team. I'm thinking like having a cursed relic that when you put on like an effigy, what it does is the next time someone goes to work on a skeleton captain voyage, that skeleton captain is turned into a skeleton lord, and then they have to compete against a skeleton lord that isn't necessarily as powerful as like an actual skeleton lord, but definitely harder than a normal skeleton captain. And you also run into a situation where say like if you find like a cursed gold hoarder coin, you can put the cursed gold hoarder coin into an altar, and what that does is it curses the next map that one of the other teams has to dig up. So the next time they dig it up, instead of finding the thing that they need, it turns into a message in a bottle, and then you're asked to do another dig, and you have to try and find that different thing.
Yes, exactly that type of thing. Where it's a race and it's going to take you, 20 minutes or whatever against another team, but you're not going to get bothered by PvP stuff while doing it. Yeah. Everything is sort of at your own pace with your own crew versus skeletons or other enemies that may spawn on that island.
I like the idea because it does the thing that I think Rare wants, which is quick moments of Sea of Thieves, and the thing that I think a lot of people love is adventure, because you both get the threat of PvE and PvP. I love the idea that there would be a potential for modes that cater to focusing on the PvE nature while still having an overall PvP aspect, like the Gambit mode or the Ghost of Tsushima mode that you're talking about, where you're racing against another PvE crew, is so interesting to me, because I love the sense of that competition, but it is a different type of competition. It's something that World of Warcraft has actually really embraced. In fact, I would say that World of Warcraft has actually embraced it because they realized that a lot of the community love running dungeons in World of Warcraft, but due to the level progression and the affixes that they have, these Mythic Plus dungeons that they have are very sought after high tier gear. And watching teams who know those dungeons really well, can run them really well. They've pitted up teams against each other. They're running the same exact dungeon. They have the same exact gear. They have whatever characters or classes they think are going to be best. But as far as the power level goes, they are on equal grounds. And it's just whoever happens to run the dungeon faster wins the race.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something that has become extremely popular with the World of Warcraft community, because most of the community plays in dungeons. They do mythic quests. They do that mode. And that's something that not a lot of people, while a lot of people love PvP, it is generally sporadic. Not everyone just PvPs. Most people generally do PvP and then PvE, but everyone is still in love with the game as a whole. And I like the idea of having competition sorted around a PvE aspect of it that doesn't necessarily involve having to kill.
Yeah. And then again, too, like I'm thinking in both the Horde mode and the sort of island race idea, yes, you want to win, but also there would be rewards that you would get just for completing these objectives. So by doing the PvE stuff, you would still potentially be getting renown or advancing yourself in Sea Dogs, or even if you wanted to do another faction, like a privateer faction or something that would carry experience points in these types of separate games, right?
Yeah.
Could be really interesting. Could bring a lot of people into the fold that just as of this point, don't get the game or don't think it's as directed as it needs to be.
Yeah. There's potential with having an open sandbox. And I love the idea of everyone being able to find their own little niche of what they like about the game and then honing in on that. So many people do art. So many people love doing hordes of gold. Some people love doing the PvP aspect of it. There's always something that someone gets away from Sea of Thieves that others won't necessarily like latch onto. So when you talk about bringing in different modes, when you came to me with this idea, I thought this would be such a fun thing to do, to try and add value to a game that at its base is potentially possible with everything that is in the game. But if you just had a team focusing on building out some of these different modes, how it could really pull in other players that are not necessarily sold on the broad open aspect of the game. Sometimes having too many options is a negative for people, and they like to have more focus. That's why Tall Tales did so well when they came out, because it really focused people's attention on what you're going to be doing in Sea of Thieves instead of just going out and doing whatever. So I love the idea of a horde mode. I love the idea of a race mode. I really do love the idea of even just like with Race of Legends, how they race ships and have obstacles and stuff.
Totally.
So there's so much potential with this, and the custom servers could allow for some of this, but I would love to see if Rare could take some of these ideas and try to energize or invigorate the arena mode in itself, and build it out to be the Sea Dog games. Like the Sea Dogs are all about competition. It really has kind of died as far as I'm concerned, as far as like what they wanted to do with it, to the point where they even took the team off of it. But there's so much potential there. I just don't think that they had an opportunity to really capitalize on it. And I think because it was a separate team, they didn't necessarily get to work at a higher priority than, say, like the Tall Tales.
Yep.
Was there anything else that you were thinking of as far as modes go? Was there something that we missed?
I mean, I think there's just a lot of potential options here for things, right?
Yeah.
If you did a King of the Hill mode, like I mentioned, skull forts, but you could do it on islands as well. It wouldn't have to be something you just do on skull forts.
Yeah.
Or that sort of hold the skull mode, that could also be done on any island.
Yeah. I'd love to see.
A lot of fun.
I would love to see like the King of the Hill mode move to islands that are large, that a lot of players aren't familiar with. So if you did King of the Hill, you could do Old Faithful Isle. And
yes,
a lot of people hate that, but I promise you, you spend enough time on an island, you're going to learn it. You're going to be really familiar with it. And then it's not going to be so scary when they come out in season 5 with an entire event that is solely based around doing stuff on Old Faithful Isle. And you'll thank me in the long run, because you had to spend hours there working on this new mode because you had so much fun with King of the Hill.
Or up the ante and have it take place on a Devil's Roar Island.
Ooh.
Where there's a potential volcano going off and geysers and things. Like there's so much in this game that could be capitalized on in multiplayer modes that are sort of snippet experiences of the regular adventure mode.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I think the key here is keeping it to those little snippets, stuff that is fun to do. If you lose, it doesn't hurt so much. You to the point where you don't want to do it again, but you want to jump back in because it felt like it was a short enough commitment that, you know, it's that one more BR match. It's that one more jump back in and play it again. It doesn't have to be an hour-long sail. It doesn't have to be a 3-hour-long tour. You can have those smaller experiences and still get a fresh feeling of what it's like to play in Sea of Thieves and enjoy it.
Yep. But in something like a horde mode or an island race mode, you're not dealing with other players that just want a TDM on the beach. You could potentially like really bond with a crew of open crew strangers in that type of thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I even like the idea of having just a straight death match. I would love,
absolutely.
I would love to have a mode where it is purely designed for that. You promote it, you benefit it, you develop the tools around it, and you give players the ability to craft it without necessarily having to supplant a mode that is intended for a different purpose. Currently, it would be kind of like if everyone decided on Sea of Thieves that they were going to completely ignore islands and they were going to sail around the big spire in the middle shooting at each other. And that was all anyone. And if you came into Sea of Thieves on a server and you didn't sail immediately over to the spire and start shooting at other players on ships, and you would start getting harassed by other players. It'd be like if someone went and just, I don't know, created an entire alliance and started doing nothing but PvE, and anyone that tried to come in with PvP would immediately get harassed out.
Right.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, it really does. It's why I stopped playing Arena. I don't think I played Arena after the first week they revamped it. I think I was done with that.
Me too. I genuinely miss the short or a little bit longer sessions, but having the ability to have the mode focused on the point of the mode was the benefit there. It was the sense of adventure built in with the intense action of fighting over an item, not just who's better at understanding the game mechanics of like hip shot, or quick scoping, or learning how to get around the sword dashes and stuff, or learning how to break through a block on a sword. It's like, that's great. That's a lot of fun. It's going to help you in adventure, but it's not going to fulfill everyone's desire for what a short amount of a Sea of Thieves could be for people. And I think I think the goal here is we're trying to build out ideas for modes for folks that want to have that short experience in Sea of Thieves.
And if you want to bring in even more of a competition aspect, you could have like specific crew makeups or guilds and whatnot, and compete on leaderboards for like number of island race wins, or defending the outposts, like number of wins, number of skeletons killed, etc. Like you'd really have an interesting competition there, I think.
Yeah. Have leaderboards for people who've been able to hold on to the cursed captain the longest.
Exactly.
Tons of fun stuff like that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, CJ, we're quickly running out of time. I know you got about an hour or so before you got to record Player One podcast, and I've got to jump in about an hour and a half before I get into Cyberpunk. But I love what we've discussed today. I had a lot of fun kind of building on some of the ideas that you brought to the table, and thank you for doing that, because it's one of those times where last week I got to talk to Nafe about the different C lyrics the lyrics that we got with the different lore stuff, and we got to dive deep into the speculation with that. This was speculation of a type that I don't ever really get to play around with, and I had so much fun doing this. So I would love if we could get another time in the future to bring more ideas to the table on what we can make Sea of Thieves into as an actual game, not just as a story being told.
Completely. This was a huge amount of fun, Logan, and started just out of a conversation we were having after playing a game. So
yeah,
it's great.
So if you guys want, head over to Player One Podcast, follow CJ at SuperPack on Twitter, join up on the Player One Podcast Discord. He's also got secondplayer.net if you want to get in with a community who is looking to try and work the marketing game of understanding what it is to be a podcast, how to make a good podcast, how to communicate with others about improving your content as a creator. Secondplayer.net is a great resource for that, and he's done a great job of building that up and recommending other people to different podcasts as well too. Player One Podcast is basically it's the old salts of podcasts. Like there's a few out there that have been going through thick and thin of covering game news and general conversation, but Greg and Phil are great friends of yours, and you guys do a great job of approaching the games industry from a perspective of been there, seen it, and nothing is really a surprise to you guys, which is so crazy to me, because you guys basically, you either anticipate it or you're not surprised that it happens, and it constantly amazes me that you guys can look at situations and be like, yeah, no, that's how that company is. That's how they are. But I love your guys' conversation recently, especially around what was it, Ratchet and Clank. I was trying to think of what you guys were recently playing, and I'm blanking now, and I'm hating myself for it. But I know Phil's been buying a lot of Transformers.
That's true.
You guys were talking about the PlayStation Showcase. That's what it was.
We were, yes.
So that's a great conversation. I loved hearing your guys' thoughts about Sony and how they're doing as far as like with the Marvel IPs. Are you excited for Wolverine in general?
Oh, heck yeah.
I think that's going to
Insomniac doing a Wolverine game. It's going to be amazing.
I feel like I need to talk to you later about what kind of Wolverine game you want, because I didn't get to play the Origins game, and I sorely wish I had. and it's something I need to figure out how to get a hold of. But CJ, is there any place that you're at that you want people to know about that I didn't get a chance to cover? I might have slipped.
No, I think you covered it all.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you again for coming. I appreciate you jumping in, and at pretty much any time I ever ask, you're always more than willing and always very flexible with me. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime. This has been great.
Awesome. Well, Pirates, that's going to do it for this episode. If you want to get a hold of me, check the show notes. It's got all my social media stuff. And Pirates, with that, thank you. I love you, and I look forward to sailing with you on the Sea of Thieves. Record button, and we shall
do it.
We are currently recording. Recording. Yes, we are recording.
Oh no!
Weird.
Flameheart. No.
It was like a weird mix between Emperor Palpatine and a Skex, and I didn't know where I was going with it.
You've been listening to a Robots Radio podcast. Smart shows for interesting people. Check out all the shows at robotsradio.net.
Hey Simone,
Yes, Chad.
what would you say is your favorite bad movie?
Oh, where would I start? But probably at zombie strippers.
Oh yeah, which we've actually done on our podcast, Fresh Tomatoes, the movie podcast. This is a podcast where we take some of the worst movies ever created, and even some of those movies that you might have thought were brilliant, but still got a bad critic score, and we say nice things about them, because you know what? Someone put the effort in, so we're gonna be there, fighting in their corner.
Absolutely, Chad. Even if the movie was total garbage, there are some makeup artists that gave it their all, and we're here to recognize that.
Exactly. And with really fun themes every week, such as National Treasure Week, Weddings Week, movies with Jeremy Irons and dragons in them. How could you go wrong by joining us every Tuesday and Thursday for some optimism in your life?
And like we say at the end of every episode, we love you and there's nothing you can do about it.
We love you and there's nothing you can do about it. Goodbye!
Hey there, my name's Jameson, or Big Cat,
And I am Brenna, or Mother Goose.
and together we are the hosts of the DL Weekly Gaming News.
Each week, we bring you the top stories from last week, as well as something you might have missed.
Our goal is to start a conversation about what's going on in the world of gaming.
And every week, we have a special guest join us in the chat room, where we discuss a different gamer-related topic and learn more about our guests in the 60-second download.
And if that isn't enough, we also have Slim Jims.
So come and hang out with us every week and join in on the conversation.
Good luck and have fun, everybody.
And remember, keep your goose loose.